everybody, and welcome back to the Headspace Podcast. It's episode 48. It's your boy HSR.
Yo, it's your boy Chris Chrome.
What up? It's Prophetry.
He chose us over getting laid this week, which was very appreciated. Thank you, sir. It's nice to have you back with us.
No problem. Just slid it in before the show.
Oh, that's called practicality. Chris, you could learn from the efficiency of Prophetry over here.
I just don't need to talk about it, bro. I do my shit. Relax.
It's okay. There's no relaxing over here. Because you know why? Fuck it, Chris. It's Wu-Tang weekend. All right. What that means is
I don't think I've said a title in like 3
That's
shows.
fine. We is reviewing what title, Chris?
The Saga Continues.
And then tomorrow we recording our review of Enter the Wu 36 Chambers. So Wu-Tang weekend. Just very excited. That's it. I was very excited. It's super cool. I was hoping somebody else would come in.
It is very, very exciting to see that they are coming back with continuing what they left off. It is awesome to see how they're coming in strong and touching upon different things that we're going to talk about in the album.
So is this like a new group, new on the scene? No, I'm just fucking with you guys.
So, okay then, when did you encounter the Wu in your life?
2006.
Oh, wait, before that, Prophet, Soda Streams. I'm having old-fashioned lemonade. It's super good. Actually, it is really good.
I feel like I'm having
I
syrup.
fucking love it.
I'm
I feel like
having
I'm drinking.
a flavorless one, like my personality.
Yeah, whatever. He's polite. Anyway, back to what you were saying. 2004, 6, something.
Yeah, 2006. I was a counselor in training at a summer camp, and 2 of my friends were addicted to Enter the Wu. They listened to it on loop the whole summer. 2 months of Enter the Wu all the time in our tent.
Tiger style, indeed.
Yeah. It had such an impact on one of my friends. He went from hating hip-hop to loving it because of that album.
Well, I mean, if you're like, exposed to that for 2 straight months every day, like you're gonna start to realize why it's good and start to pick it apart.
They
Your
do have that
curiosity.
impact on you. It's like oftentimes the first time you hear it, it's a lot of stuff, and then the more you hear it, it's like you dissect it further, and it's like you get a new revelation and a deeper understanding with the more listens. I am not even going to pretend to understand the Wu-Tang Clan. We haven't even reviewed that first album yet, as you can tell, because we're recording that tomorrow. So we're doing this one first, as you can see. Totally backwards. The comment section has told us we're doing this wrong. That's okay. They released this album now. It is what it is. But we have in fact touched on a couple of them, so I understand that they're highly prolific lyricists and stuff.
Yep.
And most of my real exposure to them comes from any of the reviews we've done thus far, which will sporadically appear in the corner somewhere throughout this video if you have any curiosities. Mostly individual ones, so no actual Wu album. So this won't be the first Wu album I've heard. I have in fact listened to Enter the Wu in its completion before, but never as a guy who understood what they're about before. So this is my first proper Wu-Tang Clan album experience with this Saga Continues.
Fair enough. I'm on the same boat with that. This is my first Wu-Tang entire group experience. Like you said, I was on those shows as well. We were doing the reviews. I did that. So I was actually very excited and very interested into seeing what they're going to bring to the table now. And let's just jump into it, honestly.
Whoa. You only told us about Enter the Wu. I wanted to know more about your Wu experience.
My Wu experience?
Yeah, like how much Wu-Tang have you been into?
So Enter the Wu is the one that I was the most familiar with. I also listened to their follow-up album,
Forever.
Wu-Tang Forever, yeah. And that was also good. But I mean, that first album I think is like the one that they are renowned for. That's their classic album. It came out in 1993.
Yes. Have you heard Tycho or Liquid Swords or any of the other
So
solo ones?
I have. I've heard Liquid Swords, very good album. Tikal, I can't remember. I think I might have heard it at some point, but I'm not 100% sure. I kind of went on a Wu listening spree, and I can't remember for sure which ones. I know I listened to the Ghostface Killa solo intro album,
I haven't-
Supreme Clientele,
I haven't
which was really
touched
good.
that. We haven't touched him yet, really. We did experience him on Only Built for Cuban Links.
Right.
And he had his verses that are interloped into the different Wu albums we've touched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know I've heard a couple of the singles. Like I really like Gravel Pit. I never really dabbled with the ODB much, which isn't that relevant for this album. No offense to anyone. Please don't take that bad. I don't know. I don't know. What did you think of this cover?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was very cartoonish, very colorful. I thought
Yeah.
it brought back what Wu-Tang originally started as. Again, I don't have much knowledge on them as well, but besides the reviews, but I feel like bringing the whole ninja samurai type look on the album cover, making it back with the cartoons, kind of bringing it back to where they started. I feel,
I
or
kind
at
of
least left off.
I kind of like how it syncs up with Raekwon The Wild's album cover
Yeah.
in terms of the same similar artwork or style. Like you could see maybe the same guy put those two covers together. And I like this. Honestly, it's colorful. It's fun. It looks like something I'd want as a poster on my wall, actually.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty cool. It's got the W in the sky like it's Batman, which is nice because then it's like they all kind of look like superheroes a bit.
Right.
And I like it. I like that imagination. And secretly, I would love to cartoonize myself as a superhero one day. So I'm inspired by seeing this. It's cool. It appeals to the geek in me. And I love the title. The Saga Continues. Like, on the real, that is... It's letting you know that it's not over. And that no matter... Like, it's got such an epic grandeur to it. Like, they know their role, and they're letting you know that their story is here to keep going. The next chapter, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did you guys all think?
I also liked it. You know, that I'm very, very partial to that cartoony style album cover in general, and it fits so perfectly with the Wu theme of Shaolin, like ninja masters, right? It's just like it's a really fitting cover.
Fair enough.
And you?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I was the first one to say it.
Okay, well, Wu-Tang, The Saga Continues, intro.
Wait.
Oh, we're not there yet?
Before we go into this album, I thought it was a good
Rats.
idea to do like a quick recap. Most people coming in probably know who the Wu-Tang Clan is, and we've talked about our experiences. But the Wu-Tang Clan being so big, maybe it's good to just quickly breeze through the members of the Wu-Tang Clan and give
good
people
call.
like a sense
enough.
of who they are, right? So like you've got the RZA, who I think, especially in the beginning, I don't know about now, was kind of more of the leader of the group as far as like he produced I
All
think
the
that
beats.
first full album and a lot of the stuff
he had
afterwards.
something, but I believe it was the 5-year plan for the original part of the Wu, where he had in control and he guided it all through the first wave of albums. He produced like everything, and he rapped, and he was like the main managerial guy, I believe, who worked out those kinds of details.
Yeah. Then he had two cousins who also got involved with him. There was the Jizza, a.k.a. the Genius.
Because he's fucking smart.
Yeah.
And he was the only one at the time who had kind of prior release as an artist, a rap artist, at the time. So he was kind of looked at as the lyricist early on in particular.
All right. Boom. And I think I know who comes next.
ODB?
I was going to say ODB, yeah. Because I knew that was the other cousin.
Old Dirty Bastard. And who is unfortunately the only member of the Wu-Tang Clan who's now deceased.
Yes, which is also in a way, because there's so many of them and over such a long period of time, also kind of a good thing that it's the only one.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
an optimistic side of that, but it is a sad thing because he had his own energy.
The reason he was called the Old Dirty Bastard was because he was the father of his own style. There was no one who was the father of his style, basically. It was like the idea that he was like the original originator of his style. No one did it like him before or after.
Nice.
And then you also have Ghostface Killah.
Oh boy, this guy's fun. I'm just serious. Ghostface is cool. That guy
Yeah.
is complex, all right? He asks tough questions like, why is the sky blue? Why is water wet?
Wait, has he asked that?
No, he did. He asked on the Liquid Swords. It's like my favorite. It's the most profound part of
Why
the
is the
album
sky
to me.
blue? Why is
It's
the water
like,
wet?
why did Judas like do this something while
Well,
Jesus went up or
slapped or
something?
somebody slapped
I like
her.
it's really profound and mixed with nuance. I like him. He's so fun, and his voice is great. And the more I listen to him, the more I understand why he's dope.
Yeah, he's very unique. And he had, I think, of the solo runs, he may have had one of the most kind of consistent solo runs of the Wu-Tang members, because he, after his original album Supreme Clientele, he just like kept putting out very consistent works that were very good for a while.
Then there's Raekwon the chef. Like, there's no way you say anyone else after Ghostface. It's impossible, right? Unless you had a different order in your list. But
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I just like Raekwon.
Raekwon's great.
Like, he's got one of those voices where the more you listen to it, it's really good. He's really tight, and he's harsh, but he's smart.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. And his crime mafioso rhymes
I like how he
are
has that
prolific.
mafioso style.
Like, at first, when we reviewed his album even, I sounded like a fool considering what I now feel towards Raekwon. I understand that this guy paints movies with his albums
Yeah.
as opposed to other guys. And you can't help but love his wordplay and stuff. I respect Raekwon. Anyway, I just wanted to steal one of those. 'cause
No, I totally
I like
agree.
Raekwon. And the more I hear him, anyway.
And then, who have we not covered yet? There's
You
also
God.
You God, who...
Yeah, I genuinely don't know much about You God.
Yeah, I gotta
Except
admit,
that there's a whole documentary about him leaving the Wu-Tang and some of his feelings. And then he came back to the Wu-Tang. And here's a spoiler alert for this album. He's not on it. So I don't know what's up. How about YouTube comment people if you do know what's
yeah,
up?
that'd be great.
Oh, please. We like you guys.
To the best of my knowledge, he's the only living member of the Wu-Tang Clan who is not on this album at all.
Yeah. And the rest were there. Inspectah.
Yeah, who's, got some pretty great
like him.
verses.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know much about him, but he's cool.
Yeah, and Capadonna, who I also don't know much about.
I know that he wasn't originally in the Wu-Tang, and then he kind of came in. His status wasn't really sure. He was on a lot of verses, and then he became an official member of the Wu-Tang at one point.
Oh,
in the
okay,
2000s.
cool. And Masta Killa.
Who I also know very little about, and he's not that present on this album, and I don't know much about him. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Well, what about like Killa Priest? What about Killa
Priest is an
point, eh?
affiliate. He is
Okay.
one of the earliest affiliates, but he's not actually part of the Wu-Tang Clan.
And then don't
Yeah.
hate on me, but what about Method Man?
Oh, that is a valid point.
That is a valid point.
'Cause
Yeah,
Method Man-
how did we skip over
Like-
that? That was a
That's
mistake.
I'm just here like
That's pretty bad.
Method Man's like my favorite Wu.
Yeah.
And just his voice, it's amazing. He can say virtually anything and make it sound silky smooth and proper. He can hit any beat. He's got crazy wordplay. I don't know what you wrote down about him, but I really just like Method Man.
As he stares down the camera, just like,
Well, I've gotten criticism that I should be looking at the camera as opposed to
Oh.
you guys because it's more of a connected experience with our audience. Boom. Ethical, proper behavior discussions.
using the fans to put us in our place. We get it.
You in your place. Prophetry's G. He's the politest motherfucker in the room.
You know?
Nah, we had a discussion about that. I don't know about that. Anyway,
Fuck you.
That's not impolite.
Shit, I ruined my reputation.
It wasn't even
Damn
that
it.
impolite. I thought it was appropriate behavior.
yeah,
sir.
but you're kind of
You're behaving like a proper gentleman. I do believe we've covered the Wu, though. Do you
Yeah,
think
we
we've
have.
covered
Yeah,
the Wu?
we've sufficiently covered the
Oh,
and just like a quick.
Mathematics is the producer of this album.
He is. Every single track is produced
and
by
he
him,
made the W of the Wu.
Yeah.
which is pretty great.
Just had to throw it
It's
out
pretty
there.
classic. This is also the the 7th or the 8th? I think it's the 8th Wu-Tang Clan album.
I don't know. It's many years into their career from '93 to now. So
Like 26 years or
it's
so.
let's say the saga. It is now continuing, and now I believe it's a good time to fucking say Wu-Tang. The Saga Continues intro featuring RZA.
Not to try it.
I've made up my mind. I won't fail.
Don't you know? The men in there.
So, beginnings with the classic excerpt from a movie.
Yeah.
And I like this one because it's like this daughter, like, Daddy, tell us the story, etc. And it's like, okay, I will tell you the story. And then it's like this grand tale of like a fight about to happen, right? And then they're like Wu-Tang interrupt. I think they're different samples, but I could be wrong. And then
Sounded like people. Like it
Yeah.
sounded like samples of like
And-
crowds.
And then RZA comes in and basically starts like hyping you up, like you're obviously live at the performance already, and he's just like, yeah, guys, we're ready for it, blah blah, basically. And
But
the
it's like-
beat has like this harsh shift. That's my biggest criticism in this, is that when they flip the beats, because I really like the smoothness of the first beat, and then it's a hard cut, and this whole other beat comes in, and I wasn't the hugest fan of that. And RZA was a little bit like, he was hyping it up, it was okay. This is an average intro to me. I give it a 3.5. I don't want to spend that much time talking about this because
Yeah.
there's much better stuff. So you guys can jump in.
Fair enough.
You want to go first, Chris?
Pretty much. I actually liked the intro. I liked the little skit excerpt from a movie. Very nostalgic from the Wu-Tang when I listened to the back from like Liquid Swords. And then I actually didn't mind the shift in the beat. That was cool. I felt like it was supposed to be like a live experience. RZA's there kind of like hyping you up, but I don't want to say hyping you up. I want to say more like he's kind of like exposing you to what you should already know. In a sense of like, this is Wu-Tang. Like, you know we have stuff to say. You know we have this.
Yeah,
He's
but,
kind
but
of just like
keep in
reminding
mind,
you.
just something else to worth throwing here, is their last album, not the Martin Shkreli album, but the other album, the 2014 one, was poorly received. There was some beef within the group over it. And I think it's a little bit of reaffirming that the Wu is back. You know, like, we have fixed our problems. This is going to be the album that we should have released last time. I don't know if you got that sense.
I think that's what it is.
I want to double down on that with there's a quote in this opening like that's a reference to Buck Rogers, and this is actually one of two places on the album where I caught a Buck Rogers reference, which for those of you who don't know
right.
is Buck Rogers in the 2121 or something like that. It was like this sci-fi show about this dude who ends up in the future. So Wu-Tang is like trying to make a statement, I think, about how they are a classic hip-hop group that is now out of place in the future, but they're still coming hard with their classic style hip-hop.
But that also, I say, would represent. I'd also
was
think
deeper
that
than
would
I was
represent
expecting.
The cover art as well. Like, hearing you explain that, I'm
Yeah,
like,
but
looking
if you
the
look at
cover
their
art,
older
like,
cover art, it doesn't look like this. I
but
think
that's the thing. When I look at this, I feel like a time travel type with the sky and everything, and understanding that, like the excerpt with the space. I was like,
Chris,
okay, I see
hand
that.
in my face, bro.
And
I apologize. I'm excited.
I'd say, like, for me, like, the skits, I didn't put super deep thought into the rating. I'd give this a 4 just because I like the way that it keeps the album on theme, and I think that all the
Okay.
skits tend to do a pretty good job of that.
So-
But for me, the statement here, which then the album goes on to kind of continue to focus on, is we can do real classic hip-hop even though the world has changed around
So
us.
what you're saying is what they really want is for you to
I gave it a 4.
have a lesson that is learned. And for some reason featuring... Anyway,
Bravado, fast cash aficionado, savage vandal, I'm a legend of tomorrow.
all right, Chris, start us off. What lessons did you learn?
I learned not to fuck with them. I learned that Inspectah is ready to go when he has to. I learned that Redman just sounds like he's screaming.
What?
But not like Meek Mill screaming or just like shouting.
Gonna say Meek Mills.
Well, yeah, but like it just he's got a very distinct voice that makes him stand out so much that it sounds like he's just screaming, kind of like very just loud. I guess I'd say.
I don't want to call it screaming. I feel like he might be loud, but it's more like a dynamic range of excitement.
Okay.
Like, Redman's an excited guy.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of his interviews. That guy is hyper.
Yeah.
And he's fun. And I like his voice. But, man, anyway, I'm going to talk last because I talk a lot. How about you, Prophetry?
Okay, I dug this as like an opening track. I thought that thematically it flowed well from the last one. I like the beat. You know, there was one particular line that I loved from Inspectah, which was, my price hiking like the pills Martin Shkreli sell.
Yes.
For anybody who doesn't know the situation, the last Wu-Tang album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin in 2015, was sold. It was a single copy album sold to Martin Shkreli for $2 million.
I'll link to some article below.
Since then, Wu-Tang seems to, like, a bunch of the Wu-Tang members have kind of voiced their distaste for him being kind of like a greedy capitalist dick.
Yeah, he's a jerk. And then he smashed everything and made it worth less money on purpose, like a dick.
So the reference, I really enjoyed. I love that line.
I gotta say it. I can't remember. It's just I don't like the chorus. I feel like it was a cheap chorus. I feel like there could have been more interesting, and in fact, Redman actually was more interesting at other choruses on the album. But it's really just like, here's a list of everything. But it was a lot of his things. Like Redman. I didn't feel like, if it was a strange start to the Wu, to be like, what's up from Redman? And which is fine. And I understand that there are people who, like, he's like an honorary member of the Wu and stuff. It was just weird for me, right? Like, that was all I wanted to comment. I found it was just a little bit of a lazy chorus, but the verses were excellent. I agree.
Yeah.
Inspectah verses, whew, it's good.
Yeah.
And
It's
the black
intricate.
on back or whatever wordplay at the end, his flows are so fucked up. I've always liked his flows from anything I've noticed. He's got one of the trickier ones. And then Redman's just Redman, and he's just a dynamic explosion of energy on the track, right? And I think they both matched well together. And ultimately, it's, for me, this landed at a 4. The beat is excellent, but it was really the hook that kept it from being like the greatest shit or whatever, because those verses are proper. And even when I first heard the single, because this was released before the album, so I put it on right away, I had almost a similar impression. And then there was one more thing I wanted to throw in. That little outro part for Mathematics, which I really, really appreciated the first time. And it was still kind of cool the second time. But by the fifth time, it's kind of like, oh, Redman, I don't care anymore. And I get the shout-out part, but that could have been something put into like a skit or somewhere else on the album that didn't have to necessarily be on this single, this track. And maybe that is real hip-hop and throwing it out, but for me, it was not my favorite part. But still, 4. Come on, it's a decent mark.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good track. I did want to touch upon that. I felt like in the term of lessons learned and they're coming back to make a statement, I felt like maybe not everyone, but maybe a little bit more people should have been on the track. Just because, again, Redman did his thing, but it was more Redman, like how he's going to show lessons. And then Inspectah, yes, incredible bars, incredible lyricist, but I still felt like it was more surrounded about him and not more Wu. And I was just like...
but Wu's always been a collective of individuals rapping
I know,
about themselves.
but as a collective of individuals, I'm kind of just like... I guess just the term of like lessons learned, like I guess I was hoping everyone had a lesson or something like that.
But they do. And over the course of the album, you'll hear lots of lessons.
Of course.
But it's true. I mean, like, even on the original album, right, you have the song Method Man. METHOD, man.
That's basically just him.
It's like, it's like a track that Method Man has about himself. It's pretty common.
I don't have a problem with the fact that I thought it was bizarre, but it was the chorus, its emphasis. The fact that it wasn't like so Staten Island, Shaolin. You know, had it been more like that, I would have been like, yeah, woo. But it was more like his crew, New Jersey, which is, I believe, where Redman's from.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's enough. Do you guys all give grades?
Yeah,
4 out of 5.
Perfect. So Fast and Furious. Too fast, too fast, too furious, too So, Hugh Hef comes in with the chorus, I believe. Or the verse. No, he comes in with the verse first. And then he gets messed up in the car, and he's all faded around, and he knows there's a bunch of drugs to sell, but he has a fight with his girl, but he doesn't notice somebody watching him. And things, you know what? The sense I got from this song is I was right there in the seat next to him.
Creative storytelling.
You say that every time, like word for word. Creative
They
storytelling.
are good at telling stories.
But I don't know if it's necessarily that. I actually thought the story in his verse sucked. But I thought the rhyming and bars were good, but what I loved was the energy and the way he pulled me through his emotional state with him. And the way I felt like what he was feeling. And that I could almost connect to him, even though his story is I got a little drunk and I broke up with my girlfriend and that. Like, there's not much of a story there. But it is good rhyming and his voice is cool. And then he comes in with the hook. For me, it was Raekwon, man. What a story. That's an interesting story, right? Because in Raekwon, he comes out, he gets the connect. He knows what's about to happen. He then hops into the car and he's doing 100 because he's Ray and he knows what's up. And then a tire bursts because, you know, it just kind of happens. Some normal ass shit. As he's fixing the tire, a truck comes out. 3 guys in masks or whatever jump out, smash him in the face with the thing, gets in. They tell him basically after 30 minutes, yo, we want you alive, not dead, because we're the feds and shit. And I'm like, and then the verse ends and he goes right into the chorus and I'm like, Raekwon, you got what happens next, man? But it was more than that because his flow was so tricky. It was so clearly delivered. It was so on point, so smooth, so fit everything proper. I was blowing a freaking way. He was a little less good, not as good. His chorus wasn't the greatest. Beat was good, so I settled on a 4. But I really thought Raekwon's verse on this is worth listening to the song, if no other reason.
Nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed this track. I mean, I found that for me it was one of the tracks that stood out the least on this album. But it's still good. I enjoyed the imagery that Raekwon kind of used to tell the story. When you talk about like how you feel like you're real there, he paints a very compelling picture. I thought it was good, but just not good enough for me to stand out. So I gave this one a 3.75.
Okay. And you little one?
I enjoyed this. I thought the beat was really captivating in terms of being kind of heavy, but as well smooth in terms of being able to swap their flow. I like how they told their stories. I like how it was 2 really whack situations, but I do agree that Hugh Hef was just a kind of, you know, it was a whack situation, but
it would have been cool if Ghostface was the other guy on this track.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would have thought.
Yeah,
because
that would have been really fitting.
Because it almost would have, like, it would have been more Wu to me. It would have felt more like
fair.
this
in terms
album.
Of Wu, right. And
this is a Wu album.
Raekwon just, I wanted to know more. I was with you. Like, what happens at the end of it? Like,
It was very not Hollywood. It was just realistic.
Yeah.
It was just, this is what happens. You go to jail.
Yeah. But I don't think that I'm going to go back to this in terms of replayability. I don't feel that this is something that I would want to go back to listen to in terms of just...
What did you give it?
I give it a 4.
Why did you make it sound so fucking dismal before
because,
a 4?
Because I feel like a lot of people are gonna give these songs a 5, and I don't want to discredit the song from it.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
In my mind, even like a 3.5 would be like good. Like a 4 is like very good.
To me, like 3 is the boring mark. And
yeah,
anything
3's
below
like neutral.
3. Like 3.5 is like, it's an okay song. Like, it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I recognize it's beyond boring. 3 is a boring, and then it gets into bad. I don't think I've really given many 1s because we haven't touched a lot of bullshit, but it exists.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so I heard there's some famous fighters in that skit over there.
Wu-Tang Clan. What? You know where you are. Show more respect.
I know that.
You know, this one was a little more fun as a skit. I have to really go outside of my interest zone for these skits. Like, I could genuinely do without this. But given the thematic context, it's again with the storytelling with the daughter and the whatever, and then it kind of sets in almost the consequences I felt of fighting or whatever. It's almost like there's a certain degree of, like, it's not so frivolous. Like, the guy shows up, and then it kind of plays out in your own little woo way. Like, oh,
Really? That's what you got?
maybe
I felt like it was just validating the fact that Wu-Tang Clan are like warriors, and they're paying homage to like their ninja like style.
In the sense that he was describing earlier, that they're kind of in a new landscape where by maintaining with that style, there are consequences to necessarily maybe their album sales are going to take a hit or their fan base isn't going to be there. And it's that maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of got that.
It's like more questioning. Then it feels like they're trying to question. Like, publicly question what's going to happen with this album.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah?
I didn't have anything, like, super insightful. For most of the skits, again, I really just looked at it as, like, they're nice, they help paint a little bit of the picture, but I'm really not looking into them in depth like I am with the songs. So
I give it a 4.
I'd give it a 4. It did its job. It was cool. It had that like sampled feel. That you know, it felt very Wu. I liked it.
And you?
I gave it a 3.5 on 5.
Okay. So you liked it less than the intro?
I liked it less than the intro.
That's like the opposite
Really?
of me.
Only because the intro is where... Slightly because I felt like this also repeated the intro. It wasn't a little different.
I feel like the skit was more fun than RZA, personally. Like,
Right.
the sample was more fitting.
Right.
But I get you.
Like, it just felt like they were
get you.
validating that they're coming back. And I'm like, okay, but you made that clear in the
See,
first
again,
part.
I don't know if it's so much validating that they're coming
Right,
back.
I'm not
or
saying
being
that-
Anyway, we can go back and forth on anything.
Yeah.
If time was money, fly neighbors?
Fly navigation.
Fly neighbors? Ah, fuck.
An issue, or I'm too lazy to cross roads. If not, I'm busy. It's not a mystery who
So, Holden, what did you give your best friend? Since you consider him your best friend.
I consider him my best friend. I think he's my favorite Wu-Tang Clan member. I think Method Man has a smoothest flow ever. He's got a deeper, gruffer, kind of nice voice that like fits proper. His wordplay is pretty solid. He knows how to say things in the right order to make it compelling. Anything. He could say anything and make it sound like a proper rap song. Like his interviews practically sound like he's fucking rapping. So I'm just biased towards loving Method Man in terms of his musical delivery. In terms of this track, I was very split. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give it a 5 or a 4.5 on 5.
Okay.
Because on the one hand, I was kind of like a little uncertain on the song structure of kind of long intro, but it's okay because it sets a context. And like I'm feeling it, and my brain's kind of wandering. Meth brings me in with his verse, and it's a long verse, and it's a good verse. It was slower and calmer, but when I really listened to it, the way he delivers every syllable is on point and well executed. Verse ends, he's just kind of describing like himself and his vibe and how he kind of cruises through, and I feel like he just kind of vibes a bit and runs with it. And then he gets his hook, and then a couple sentences, and then his hook again. And that's the song. So the structure at first kind of threw me off, but then I just blocked that out and I vibed with it a second time. And I thought it was a really great experience. It's the first, like, this feels right. Like, of everything we've heard so far, this is the first one that really felt right on this album in terms of what I was hoping for, at least, out of a Wu-Tang Clan. And I gave it a 5 because I can't really think of a flaw. It was really, like, it's really good.
I give it a 4.5 on 5. The little dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
The beat was nice.
The beat was nice, but that just kind of bothered me a little bit. That. But
It's
the
fine.
beat, the rest of the beat was really good.
You're allowed bad taste.
Yeah. And I wanted a little bit more. I felt like the verse was long, and it kind
This
of.
track is 4 minutes long.
I get it. I more in the terms of the track was long, and it kind of got me dragged out. I felt like he should have broken it up a bit.
I don't know, man. I don't think it would have worked. I think this track was meant to be the way it was.
Fair enough. But it's not bad. His wordplay is crazy. His syllable game is insane. And his lyricism is just, it's so deep and honest that there's deeper meanings behind it. And you have to really take the time to listen to it again and again to really feel what he's
And will
trying
you,
to say.
Chris?
I will take the time.
Okay. Sometimes he says that and goes, but I'm never going to listen to the song.
Well, yeah. I go to Major Bag.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Method Man on this track. I loved his flow. I love his style. I think one of my favorite lines was where he just like kept kind of bending words and kind of altering them to suit his rhyme flow. It was like, "See my committee block a fishy, it is not an ishy," and that cracks me up. Ishy, I love it.
Well, he often has that fairy tale-esque style of rhyming.
Yeah, it was really great lyrics wise and flow wise and all that. You know, and the beat is like kind of it was nice, but for me it wasn't like that was the point where I was not like super sold. So I'd actually give this one a 3.75.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just biased. That's fine. Maybe my opinion's frozen like Elsa.
gets a hit. His broad is fit with the largest tits. Through the fog they sit.
How did everybody feel about Frozen? That classic Disney movie.
I ain't never seen that movie and it's shit.
Then how
The
do you
movie
know
shit?
it's shit?
Yeah.
Because I deemed it shit.
Well, Chris,
you haven't
now,
seen it.
now you're just gonna get made fun. Anyway,
That's
let's
okay.
talk about the song.
That's okay.
Let's move on from you shitting on a Disney movie irresponsibly.
Yeah, man. Frozen is like the hardest Disney movie. What are you talking about?
And
Okay, please tell me that's a pun, because
No, I'm just fucking
it's
around.
not the hardest Disney
So my man Method Man is back, and he's dropping a very comparable verse to the last track. Honestly, I felt that subject thematically was very similar. I really enjoyed the part where he addressed the fact that he's like the method guy, but not like the one you smoke from a pipe, but like how his flow is just like nice and shit, and he's got the method to, whatever. Fun fact. When they said Method Man back in the day, they meant weed, as I understand it,
Oh, yeah?
which is crazy because I never would have known that if it wasn't for the internet.
Thanks, Internet.
Internet's kind of cool. I love this chorus. I think Ghostface, Killa, and Raekwon bounce off each other excellently on this hook, and it sounds so fucking cool.
Yep.
Granted, the volume's a little weird, like a little weirdly placed between the two. Like Raekwon's all smooth and Ghostface is like screaming his fucking head off, and it works. But it's still a little weird. Now, here's my grievance. It's Killah Priest, man. Like, the guy's lyrics were okay and his flow is okay, but when you hear the energy of Method Man, Ghostface, and Raekwon up until this point, high energy the whole way through, it's almost like this lackluster, energyless, dry performance from Killah Priest, right?
Yeah.
Chorus comes back in, and then this Chris Rivers dude, who I have no idea who this is, he kills it right
Yeah,
back up.
he
Excellent.
really
like,
does.
Yep.
Like, honestly, after, like, the Hugh Hef, I wasn't necessarily thrilled at the idea of all these names I've never heard of, but this guy just reinstilled my faith. His flow is insane, and this track is still fucking proper. I get the feeling that the general gist of it is their reality, their hood is pretty bad, and don't like pretend to be hard and don't fuck around in their area. You don't know them, don't go, that kind of general feeling, right?
Yeah.
And lot to dissect still. Either way, to me, this is a 4.5 on 5. It's fucking nearly perfect.
Jeez, I gave it a 5 on 5.
Yo, that volumes and Masta Killah Priest. Killah Priest verse is just, it's not perfect.
I felt like Killah Priest did what I felt like he did on his album when we reviewed it. I was like, I feel like he preaches in terms of being the priest part of his name. I feel like he somewhat tries to preach instead of like flow with the rap. And I can get behind that type of creativity. I can get behind the off timing that he does when he's trying to like make it through to get the message out. I like that. The back and forth when you were saying how like you feel like it was oddly volumed, how Raekwon and Ghostface, they're on the hook, or they're on the chorus. Dude, it's the contrast. It's the perfect contrast. Raekwon was so like deep, smooth, and like this is what we're doing, the stuff. But then Ghostface comes in.
That doesn't excuse Killah Priest's lack of energy.
Fair.
Even the preachiness is fine if you sound like preachy, like Jizza sounds preachy on that verse later on this album. It's totally fine because he has that proper flow. This just sounded like Killah Priest didn't try that hard in terms of his delivery. Not that his verse was bad. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to say this was like one of my favorite songs on the album. I really liked it. I fucking love that beat, that like clappy, bassy keyboard. Like yes, it was really good, really groovy. Method Man killed it. Killah Priest, like, yeah, I sort of agree with Holden, but I will say that I did enjoy the imagery he had of this like drug cartel scene. I thought that was pretty good. So that kind of kept me engaged. And then the Chris Rivers like blew me away. I was like, I didn't see this guy coming and listen to it, and I was like, holy shit! This is the first time I heard him, and I already really like him. And I'm a pretty hard person to please. And like he's got a great flow, great vocabulary, and rhymed it like on. I like this a lot. I give it a 4.5, and
I'm right there with you.
Love
buddy.
it.
All right, Berto and the Fiend, a story by Ghostface Killah.
I remember the Fiend fuck Berto up. Fiend was fucking Berto up. I had to jump in.
I could have done without this.
What?
So
What?
no, for real. Like
I get him.
I'm like listening to this, and the first time I heard it, it had this charm. Okay, Ghostface was telling the story of how Berto was getting the shit kicked out of him over a $35 drug deal gone bad by this skinny little kung fu fiend, and then Ghostface saves the day. And I mean, like, he doesn't really rap it or anything. He's just like they're sitting around the studio talking or whatever. And I mean, I find these things just lose charm and appeal real quick. So it was really okay, but it's not that great. It doesn't even. I don't even understand. Maybe you can explain how it fits thematically.
So my reaction there was actually not to Berto and the Fiend. It was to the next track, because the way that I view these skits is like flavor, but not real songs. So like, this one I was like, I'd also give it, I don't know, give it like a 3.75 or a 4.
I give it a 3.5. I feel like whereas the other skits actually served a purpose for stuff, this was just okay. I don't know why this was here. Maybe please explain it. Comments on YouTube or Chris.
Well, as I remember from the other albums we reviewed, there's a lot of skits like this in terms where it so happens that the Wu would, how do I say it? They would kind of like explain or somewhat represent in a way their like movements that they make and how they do things. And there's always been a conversation like this. There's always been
just a weak one.
I know it's a weak one. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's great, but I do understand why it's here. I feel like as the Wu-Tang Clan, they're keeping some sort of like continuous, from what they used to do. I can't think of the word right now. I apologize.
And now a story told by Ghostface Killah. What'd you give it?
Anyway, I gave it a 4 on 5.
Okay. Who's ready for Pearl Harbor?
What?
Yours truly. Nigga with Sean writing hard. Niggas do anything.
Hey.
So this is a banger.
This is a banger.
You got Ghostface Killah actually rapping this time, so it was pleasant. He does that hook, and it's beautiful. It's my favorite line is the gynecology line that like it's a pun, and it's really clever. And, we got fucking what's his name there, Sean Price, who honestly Helter Skelter's been on our list for a really long time, and we haven't done it. And to hear Sean Price actually rap, this is my first experience.
Yo, I just have to interject. Sean Price, so I'm listening to this song the first time, and I'm hearing this flow, and I'm like, man, this guy is so good. Man, this guy sounds familiar. And then I hear that, like, classic branding, like, P that he does in so many of his tracks, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Sean Price. Dude died in 2015, and they managed to get a verse out of him.
I didn't even know that, but I'm pretty sure I've heard about that.
Yeah, he died in 2015. This was like a really respected, for anyone who doesn't know, really respected underground rapper, originally part of the duo Helter Skelter, had a solo career with some good stuff too. Like if you don't know him, like right now, download his debut solo album, Monkey Bars. Like that is a very good album. Dude is super, super talented. When he died, the community came together for this crowdfunding campaign and gave a bunch of money to his family. They ended up getting like $73,000, and supposedly even like Jay-Z and Eminem like gave a bunch of money to it, like a lot to support him because he's very well respected, even though he never had that like mainstream success. I'm big into underground rappers, and like he is one of the top. Very good.
Nice.
Yeah, and then he had a great verse where it was more or less, I don't like new rappers who suck. That's kind of what his verse was about.
Pretty much the gist.
Yeah.
And it was a good verse about it. Don't even get me wrong. He sounded not so much like a OG hater, but more like a guy who's just letting you know what his preferences are. And I found it really nice. Method Man, honestly, kind of did the same thing, again, as he's been doing, which is not a problem because I love it when he does it, and I thought it was brilliant here. Method Man kills it. This beat is just fucking great, so hearing him on this was good. RZA, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of just like, I'm rich, bitch, I can do whatever I want.
Yep.
And it sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it sounded pretty good. I will say the one thing, and maybe some people like this too, RZA's got kind of more of like an off-rhythm flow.
I like it.
And I think like, I like that sometimes too, but coming right after Sean Price and Method Man, it was Method Man, right? Yeah. It's a little odd because it stands out extra because those two guys have flows that are like rhythmically on point. Like those are some of the...
I find that...
But I felt like it
felt
worked.
like it's supposed to do that because if
kind of broke it up a little bit.
RZA's always been this...
But like I feel like even from
I feel like RZA's always had this like more direct message, like this more like trying to say something. Not saying that the other Wu members don't have something to say, but I feel like they're also like creatively rapping and like making music and having fun with it.
I don't know how much RZA have you listened to?
You haven't noticed? You haven't noticed RZA's always got like this like political edge type.
But it's also he's right. It's always off time, and if you're just talking about the flow and you cut out the actual message of it, it's erratic. It's like a conversation, and it just kind of like feels like almost sometimes like he's stumbling through it, but not in a way where it's like bad, but it's like deliberately stumbling. Like it's almost like he's creating that effect, which is really I love it. I happen to find, though, from a songwriting perspective in that front, it's like you have Sean Price, who's almost on the extra kind of slower, more pointed flow. Method Man takes you to a more smoother, it's a little quicker, it's a little more punchier. And then RZA just kind of takes you on a whole level higher with that erratic flow and that next level shit. So I do think it was meant to stand out, and I think it was done on purpose, and I think it was a really good choice. It made it not be a flat song. 4.5 on 5 for me. I really dug it. And Ghostface. He was great. Fucking love that hook. And the outro. Because the way he does that second chorus as it fades out and stuff is really good.
Damn. I give it a 4.5 on 5. I like the song. It's fucking produced nice. Everybody stands up next to each other amazingly. I wasn't too hooked on the chorus or the hook. It wasn't bad. Ghostface did a great job. His voice threw me off on this one a little bit.
Ghostface?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it.
I don't know why. Like,
I feel like RZA's voice, if anything, threw me off a little bit.
Yeah,
I feel like there's something to the effect on every RZA verse on this album that makes him sound like extra deep compared to what I've heard on the older work of Wu. Like compared to even just maybe it's just he got older or something. I don't know, but
maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah, I give it a 5. This is my like favorite track on the album.
That's fair.
Love it. And the Sean P edition was like a gift. I think. I really
Honestly,
loved
it was my pleasure to hear that verse. I'd never heard him before. Like I said, he's on the list of people to check out. It's a very long list, forgive me. But in the meantime, people say he's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Leather, hold a Mac 10 pumping up in 10 the Grammy hour. Coke chemist taste the flow.
This is a fucking like excellent track. It's super rare in all of my reviewing experiences. Normally, what I find happens is you hear this single. And it's honestly a lesser track on the album. And I even feel like Lesson Learned was like okay compared to some of the other ones. Like Pearl Harbor's like a smasher. Lesson Learned's like whatever. And that's okay because they didn't want to tease every fucking banger. It totally makes sense. But People Say is fucking flawless. Like the beat is excellent. You get your first experience of modern Wu with Method Man jumping in, which...
Redman, you mean?
No, Method Man starts this off with like...
Oh, okay, you talk about like directly...
Yeah, like
okay,
Method Man
bad,
starts off the verse and he comes in kind of describing back in the day life was like this. I'm genetically meant to be hard and stuff. And then, if I'm not mistaken, next up is Ray.
Yep.
Our boy
Yeah,
Ray
Raekwon.
follows through. And again, it's like... These two right here are what I think would be like the backbone of pure, the most talented on the album that we've come across. They're both the finesse in their talent and craft after all this time has only aged like fucking wine. They don't get worse. And I think Raekwon was just super fantastic. Like I'm talking about like Wu members here that are especially on this track. It was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree about the Method Man. Like Method Man, this album is like he shines. He shines.
Unfortunately, there wasn't more Raekwon to shine.
Yeah, he was
something I
good
would
when he
say.
appeared.
And Redman, and it's like Red MF's back up in here. You know, it's beautiful. It's really good. I'm really loving that verse from it. It was way better than the other one that he was on, and it's solid. It's like freaking proper.
Yeah.
And then that little People Say little break thing happens, and then we get more Wu guys because this is like the first one that had a lot of Wu on it, right? A really multiple verse. Felt like the old school feel. Like we're 9 tracks in, right? Or maybe 9th track in with a few skits. And then what is it? Inspectah is next.
No, it's RZA.
Is it RZA?
Yeah.
I thought it was Inspectah.
I'm pretty. Yeah, no, it's Inspectah, and then Masta Killa.
Yeah.
And both of them come in, and each of these guys, honestly, kind of, I feel like they're dropping perspectives, their surroundings, their understanding of things, and they're really fucking straight up. Like My favorite part is how Redman's like, I'm not a shooter, but I know shooters, and fuck it, if I have to, I'll go put on the vest myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This to me is a 5. Best track I've heard so far. And it's a single. And it had a video. And the video was not as good as the song. Anyway, it was whatever.
Cool.
The video was like, it was fine. Like it's an average video. It doesn't stand out. I thought it was cool. They had like
it stands out in terms of the Wu. Like if
In
you
what
if you
way?
think, well, dude, the man looks like they all look like ninjas. They've all got weapons.
How does it stand out?
Like in terms of
When
like
you say
just
stand out, it means
for me,
it's like
for me,
better than.
Okay, fine. Stand out isn't the right word. What I'm trying to say is like
Or worse than.
It's nice to see like they kept the whole Shaolin.
Well, see, that's the thing,
ninja
is it's
thing
consistent.
in more of like a modern type way.
If
But I don't-
anything, it was the box that they carried through the video with the Martin Shkreli thing that had any significance.
that was cool. And the other thing, like when we talk, the only thing I can remember in that video that was thematic and cool was they had the like a whole bunch of different women who were holding different blades and different swords and knives and daggers and shit. And it was like that was cool. The rest of it, like you're talking about, like the Wu looking, Shaolin and stuff. I don't remember that. Like they seem to just.
They just
I
kinda-
like. Okay, fine. I'll
so
admit.
they
I like
just-
the dude's hoodie.
No, but for real, the video
I like
was
the
so.
dude's ninja hoodie.
It was for the most part a non-distinguished video. The song, though, on the other hand, was really proper and really is worth listening to. And if
It's a good song. Yeah.
5 on 5 for me.
I'd give it a 4.5 on 5. It's one of my preferred songs on the album.
I gave it a straight 5 on 5. I think everybody did what they had to do. They stood up next to each other perfectly. They laid out the bars. They laid out their verses. I agree, dude. Raekwon and Method Man, they just have, like you said, Holden, this finesse of doing things. And you know what? I'm gonna put Redman in there just because Redman has
amazing.
his thing, like his own thing. So
And Inspectah Deck sounds pretty cool, and so does Masta Killa. All right. So we've established that the 5 guys on the track all did their thing and sounded good.
Oh, and the beat was dope too. Let's not gloss over the beat.
Right,
Was
so mathematics is included in the family skit.
They need fathers. They need protection. To raise a child, you need a parental coalition of.
This was unexpected.
this was different.
I like the message. Straight up, you're celebrating the death of the black man's role in your life by calling him evil, and then you're surprised that things are the way they are, and maybe we shouldn't hate black men the way that we do on a systematic level. 4.5 on 5. Really interesting. It made me think. And I like things that make me think, and I was just unexpected in the middle of this Wu-Tang Clan album. I just, wasn't expecting it. You?
Yeah, like I think it also flows nicely into the next track, which is another plus. So I'd give it a 4.5 as well.
I as well gave it a 4.5. I think that this unexpectedness is actually really cool in terms of getting the message across, because I feel like while doing these albums there's a lot of like skits that kind of just mesh through. There's a lot of songs that kind of just mesh through the album, and this kind of breaks you away from everything that like Wu is saying, and it's different, and you kind of just like, whoa, wait, what is this? And you really sit down and listen. 4.5.
And if you consider who it is and what we've heard this far, it's such a tone shift from like the Wu-Tang Clan being the best and all that to here's a real social issue that we've made an observation about. Listen to this interesting clip we found. I'm not sure who the clip is. Somebody knows. I would love to hear the full excerpt of what that's from.
Hit us in the comments down below,
please. I don't know. Anyone else got more here?
Yeah, I mean, oh wait, no, not for this one. Sorry, I was thinking about the next one already.
Cool. Why?
Why?
too many.
On the weekend, SUV XM Heat only plays the weekend. Only wanna
Again, on the unexpected front, this was pretty cool. How does she say her name? Swnkah, something like that. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. She comes in and introduces herself and starts singing, and then RZA does exactly what he does, politically themed, charged, off rhythm, but it was really cool. It was like, if I punch a racist in the face, why do I have to deal with the consequences of that? How is this a fair situation?
Yeah.
He starts asking some really hard questions about why are the cops basically allowed to shoot us and we cannot retaliate because if we do, the consequences are blah blah blah.
They still shoot us.
The second verse had it was an interesting criticism of the priorities of 30-year-old men, which I'm about to turn 30, so I was like, okay. And the desire to have a nice honey and the way strip clubs are portrayed and all of these other things. It was really about priorities. And I was like, damn, that's some deep shit, you know, women, respect, and all that stuff. And it was really well done. And then her verse kind of came in like, treat me properly, and asked a bunch of whys at the end. And I was floored with this song. It was like just the same album, like, but not in a bad way. Like, wow, what a great use of your platform, Wu-Tang Clan and RZA. And I gave this a 5. I like the beat a lot. I like the flow. And I found myself wanting to listen to it more, but going, shit, one of these two is going to show up soon, so I have to go to the next song. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really liked the subject matter and the lyrics. I thought RZA, like, killed it. He had like, specifically the 3 lines that, like, stood out in his verse that I love. Like, a black man life ain't worth a loaf of bread. Stop or I shoot. You stop, they still shoot. Buck, 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 they stomp you with the steel boots. It's like, man, that hits hard. His lyrics were really on point. The beat, for me, was kind of something that held this track back a bit. I didn't love it as much as some of the other ones. And I think part of it is this was the only track on the album that wasn't produced only by Mathematics. Mathematics produced it or co-produced it with Wise Beats. And I feel like it shows. I feel like it stands out a little bit production-wise from the other songs on the album. And I did actually like that cohesiveness. Okay. So for me, it did detract a little bit, but the subject matter is really strong. I'd give this a 4.25.
Okay. And you little one?
I really liked the song. I like the Jamaican feel to it. I like the fact that Mathematics was co-producing on it. Not to discredit him, I just the sound was different than the similar sound throughout the album. So it was different. Cool. The rest, it's what I do. And the rest, I mean, the lyrics were on point. The chorus, the repeating the why is kind of validating why artists repeat themselves, and I guess I'm trying to say, because I get that feeling of like why, like just asking yourself why, and not like asking somebody and being annoying, but mostly an internal question, and I got that, so I'd say 4.5 on 5.
I just like the way it outroed. I thought it was sonically beautiful. Nice. On that note, who wants to get G'd up? G'd up.
And if I beat you to the punch, I punch you dead in your face.
Yo, guess who's back? It's Mr. Method Man, and everybody likes Method Man by now, so he's cool.
Yep.
But I wanted to comment on Mzee Jodes does a great singing job, and Armin does a killer second verse.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about Armin is he's coming in, and he's fucking killing it, and I'm loving it, and it fits. He's just, kind of similar subject matter. Wu's been bringing this album. Really great wordplay. But then he says something along the lines of, like the veterans are now acknowledging me as a newbie, and you know what, really, I am a veteran. And that line bothered me, because here I was picturing him like a veteran. And then he basically broke the fourth wall
in the foot
and let me know he's not. And I was like, you didn't need to do that, dude. You had a really great verse. And then it was like a little moment of insecurity that broke the whole illusion of that dude's verse. Otherwise, it was fucking great, man. I think this is Method Man doing it again. Like, honestly, I want to go through all of his albums now, because this is like fucking crazy. He's so good on this. He's carrying... A lot of the consistency in this album has come from him being able to show up, drop great bars, and deliver it nonstop. Like, I don't know. It's been pretty cool to hear him like that. And the other dude who sings on the chorus, it's one of the first singing experiences we've even had thus far. And I think it's really nice. It really works as a nice little hook thing. And if I'm not mistaken, they also sample some older song in, like, the chorusy bridge thing. Yeah. And, yeah, no, to me this is fucking great. I give it a 4.5. It's definitely worth listening to.
Nice.
The beat is fucking awesome. It's playful. The lyrics fit it like a glove. Like it feels very well crafted. And Armin, I've never heard of him before this, and this was like the second time on the album where they had this person come in that I have never heard of, and their verse, like, first verse blows me away. It was, like, really impressive. I got some laughs out of it, and I loved his flow. I'd give this, like, a 4.5.
Fair.
Nice. I gave this a 4 on 5.
That's a low mark compared to what we gave it.
At this point, I'm looking at it lyrically, and I'm back to being a gangster on this song. And I'm just kind of like, we touched upon some, like, real shit a little earlier. We touched upon some real topics. And then I was just like, okay, we're back to being gangsters. Not that I don't like the song. It's a fucking great song. I think I'm like, okay, do you have, something else?
It's the Wu-Tang Clan.
I get it.
We started
I
the
get
album saying we're not going to do that much new shit. And you were like, yeah, totally.
And
cool.
I'm one of those
They're
people
staying
right
down.
now.
And now you're like halfway through, like, you know what? I'm not really that into
No,
the Wu-Tang
I
Clan shit.
I didn't say I was like on board with them like staying on their own shit. I said that's what
if
they
anything,
did in the first
the
track.
previous 2 tracks are uncharacteristic of what I've seen to be the Wu-Tang Clan.
Different.
And
anyway,
then we come back in with an amazing track to showcase young talent. Very Wu-Tangy. Very good.
Okay.
Either way, it's okay. Your 4 is not a bad mark. I don't know if what you say is true.
Leave him bleeding out with his shoes and his socks off, fitted on the sidewalk. This is real talk.
So I just got a serious question. How come sometimes, and I'm just like looking at Spotify, they like feature particular members of the Wu-Tang, such as Ghostface Killah. Like it literally says, like featuring Ghostface Killah on that Berto and thing, like he's featured. And on this particular track, we actually have on the roster today the deceased old dirty bastard, Streetlife, Jizza, Masta, Killa, and Capadonna, who are in some cases like I think are they just not on Spotify? Is that what it is? None of those other guys are there.
Do you have to be on Spotify? It's kind of like a tag.
Well, but like why? No, because like I put you on Spotify. You don't have a page. You just shows up.
The same thing is true on iTunes, where they're just not referenced on the.
And it's just
featured.
it's so bizarre to me how inconsistent the reference features. Like why in the title of the fucking track has featuring RZA, but on this one it doesn't even have featuring Jizza. The only time Jizza showed up, and it's not even featuring him. It's just. Maybe I'm being weird with this.
I think it's just like inconsistent. Whoever did the title naming was inconsistent in their method, which is very strange. But, it happened.
It's neither here nor there. I dig this track. I really do. I think it's got a nice observational tone to it while delivering it in a very woo way thing. But here's a good example of how I feel about this album. Everybody on the Wu's kind of doing their own thing a little bit, right? So you have Capadonna comes in kind of hard or whatever. I mean, on the same track you have Jizza, who just does a random 8 bars about the art of being an MC. Just arbitrarily. Just kind of out of nowhere. They didn't have anywhere else on the album to put it, so they stuck it here. I mean, I wasn't the hugest fan of Streetlife. Like, he was the first feature that in a bit where I was like, he's kind of non-distinct. And I don't necessarily think Masta Killa is my favorite Wu. He's a good Wu, but he's not my favorite Wu. So they were a little dampening to this. But let me say something. My favorite beat on the album has to be this beat.
Oh, yeah?
This is anthem banger type shit, and it's fucking great. Ultimately, I settled on a 4.5. Because even though Masta Killa and Streetlife might not be my favorite, they're the half point. It's still good. Everybody's on point. Everybody does their job right. And even Jizza's out of place verse fits. And then can't forget about ODB's amazing message of the upcoming racial war and how at the end of the day, we're all having fun together. Woo! Literally, that's how it goes. Woo! And I really thought it was cool to put ODB on this fucking album. It was just nice to me to see that.
That's fair.
Nice.
For me, I love the beat. It's got a cool feel to it. It's dark and grimy. It's mildly orchestral. It's like a really solid beat. I was kind of underwhelmed by some of the vocal performances. They weren't bad, because on a Wu album, really none of the verses are inherently bad. But I agree. Streetlife, he was decent, but he really didn't stand out. It was really non-distinct. Masta Killa's verse also wasn't. I didn't find it was one of the strongest ones on this album. Capadonna's verse was pretty decent. And then the jizza is like, yeah, it's fine, but it was 8 lines. We got 8 lines of jizza on this album, which, you know, in when Method Man describes the jizza like early on in the Wu's lifespan, he describes him as like the spiritual head of Voltron.
Yes.
You know, and so it's really weird to me that this is all we see of jizza, that we get 8 lines from him and nothing more on this album. It's not even a full verse. It's a half a verse.
It's like he didn't necessarily want to be there, and he had to do the one spot just to be on the Wu-Tang.
Yeah. So for me, this song was kind of like, it was a lot of lost potential, because there was a lot of pieces that could have made it great, but really it ends up being a 4 for me.
Okay.
Nice. I gave it a 4 as well. I kind of agree with Ryan on this one. I'm just kind of like, they all felt out of place, but for who they are, I'm like, okay, it sounds great, but it doesn't seem to be sustainable in terms of everybody wanting to be on that track. I agree with you though. The beat is really fucking cool. It's really well produced.
I did it right.
And if there could be a remix to this, that would be
Chicka feature Chris Chrome.
Hey, that'd be dope.
All right.
But other than that, I did give it a 4 on 5.
So if we understand correctly here, he wants to be part of the Saga skit.
On the seaport in Newport Beach, I seen military air carriers on the shore.
I can appreciate the value of this skit a little bit more than, say, some of the other skits, because it really was just a RZA-verse, and it was more of the preachiness of him, and it was a really like observational, like, this is what I'm seeing going on in the world right now, and it just flowed through a bunch of shit. If I'm not mistaken, this is the other one where he has the reference to your guy.
I think so, yeah.
And I liked it. I thought this was well placed. It flowed through the album. I can see how this just ended up as being a skit and maybe not as something, because it kind of flows with like that first track and the outro that we'll get to. It's kind of like RZA being the narrator of this album a little bit. I give it a 4. I don't have a lot to add. It's a very short track. It's a minute. It's the RZA doing the RZA.
I'd also give it a 4, and I still like this. They went for 2 Buck Rogers in the future references, and I dug both of them because I think it very much fits the place the Wu-Tang is at with this album. Cool. Yeah,
nice. I as well gave it a 4. I think it's really cool that they're again breaking the whole gangster heavy rapping to like actual touch upon some real shit. So I was like, all right, dope.
Okay, so. Who's
Could
ready?
go bang.
Yeah, that.
Rockwaller, diamond collar with gold bangs. Yep, a top shotter. Don Dada, rhyme prop.
Oh, I want the Blackout 3 now. That's what my feeling was here. I can't wait for it. I know it's in the works. It's gonna happen one day, but that'll be fucking exciting. For those who don't know, Method Man and Redman dropped the Blackout in I think 99, and then the Blackout 2 when I was in college. And now we just need the Blackout 3 because it would fit, because we need it in this decade to keep the theme alive. Either way, beat's fucking proper. It comes in with a nice, calm feel to it. Redman does the hook. Method Man does this nice verse. And, I mean, it's short. It's a minute and a half, but in this minute and a half, they managed to turn it into the feeling and the illusion of a complete and full song. And I love that. I thought it was really well made. I gave it a fucking 5. I really think this is like a teaser for the Blackout 3. That's how I felt about it, and I'm excited. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it's not the kind of short song you hate. It's nice.
So this is like towards the end of this Redman album featuring the Wu-Tang Clan. And I mean, at this point, dude's been featured more than members of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Absolutely true.
And he holds his own. He does well.
Again, absolutely true.
I think that Method Man and Redman just sound really good side by side. They're both really good rappers. It works well. For me, unfortunately, the beat on this, I felt like it's fine, but it doesn't stand out to me in any way. It's kind of like, this is one of, I think, my least favorite tracks on the album. It's still good. I'd give it a 3.75.
I'm disappointed in you. Anyway, keep going.
Jeez.
But yeah, the rest of the stuff outside of the beat was quite good.
Okay, you?
I gave this a 4.5 on 5. Unfortunately, I don't know the magic behind the Blackouts 1 and 2.
Gosh. La 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 la.
Attack me. I get it.
You know what I mean.
Now, I do like Method Man and Redman together. I like how Method Man is very...
That's the magic of the blackouts.
I understand.
Described it.
I understand. I like how, like we've touched upon many times throughout this review, is Method Man is very deep voiced and strong, and like how he presents himself, and he's very smooth and witty, and he's going. And then you have Redman, who's on the other side, and it's just hyperactive energy, and you're just there like, this is the perfect balance.
You want to see a great balance? Check out Eminem and Redman. Great balance. I don't remember the name of the song, but you should check it out. It's a fucking great song. Anyway, for you, I'm talking to you, Chris, so you can go check that out. And you, internet, if you don't know what I'm talking about. And you. Anyway.
Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to check it out.
Oh, yeah, I totally stretched 15 seconds of the podcast doing nothing. Do we all give grades?
I give mine.
Awesome. My only one concern is that I talk too much. Yeah, no, Capadonna is featured here on Spotify, but he wasn't featured on the other song.
Somebody got lazy, dude. Literally.
That's okay. Who else thinks Ghostface Killa is the perfect sweetheart? He is the romantic member of the Wu-Tang Clan that you definitely want to date, ladies. I can tell you that much. You listen to this guy. He is fucking suave, dude. Like, you listen to these three verses.
Plug.
First of all, big ups to chorus guy, Steven Latorre. Honestly, it was so refreshing. It's a little pop R&B. It's magical. At this point in the album, in the way that Chris is like, I want something different. Well, this is a really cool different I wasn't expecting. I was okay with more of the same thing.
Yeah.
But I was happy we got our romance girl song. And then Ghostface does it right, man. Ghostface describes whining and dining a girl in a way where any true thug should follow in the path of Ghostface. That dude knows romance. He gets it. He's really good, and his flow's fucking proper, and it's nice. And I say this because the RZA does not know romance. Holy crap, Riz is basically like, bitch, suck my dick, get out, we down for the night, and like, we're pretending. And that's what I got from him. Like, he was really cold in his verse. And Capadonna was more of I felt a little typical. Like, at least RZA stood out. He had a very impressionable verse. So did Ghostface. Ghostface, you know what's up. But Capadonna, honestly, was just generic sounding a little bit. Altogether, it wasn't bad. There was no really anything against this track. It was a 4.5 to me. Given this is the last real song on the album, spoiler alert, this was fucking cool. I thought it was just a great beat too. I like the beat, great feeling in general. The rhyming construction goes without saying to be good. And what I like about just in general the feeling is that because it's like we haven't heard a lot of Ghostface, so hearing him here is nice. I heard a lot of Capadonna, so hearing him here is nice. We've heard a bit of RZA, but hearing him talk about girls is different. And it's like, I don't know. It was a good place track. One of the best place tracks on this entire album.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wait, did you give it a score?
4.5.
Yeah, I have to say, I love this beat. And it's so great because the beat comes on and I almost feel like, is this a superhero, super villain track? Nope. It's how Wu-Tang does a love song. And I love that. It doesn't feel, like super, like the beat I'm talking about. It doesn't feel super sappy and no, it's how Wu-Tang does romance. It feels distinct and unique. I love it. Ghostface really does a good job with this. He has a great verse. I give this a 4.5, and I one of the tracks I really enjoyed on this album.
I give it a 5 on 5.
Okay.
I felt like it really broke down the 3 type of generic men that there are in the world.
Okay, he just took it to a whole fucking level on me I didn't consider.
Like, I'm just saying, there's 2 ways I did this. There's one where each individual rapper is a different type of guy who, has in their interpretation of love differently. And the other way I thought of it was you start off as the generic person in love and you're like just kind of getting to know it. You're kind of shy. You're not really there. Then when you get used to it, you're kind of like Ghostface where you know how to do it, smooth around, blah, blah, blah. And then somewhere something kind of messes up and you become like, I stopped loving. I just want to do what I got to do. And I'm kind of just like, I see this. I actually see this and I see both sides of the coin. And I thought that was really, really cool. Ghostface, for somebody with that type of name.
It's like Ghostface Killah is the one who's the ladies' man of the move. That's all I got. Like, I honestly want to go find all of his romance songs because, like, I'd put a playlist of Ghostface Killa rapping about women at this point.
Jeez. But
Even the one on Only Built for Cuban Links was pretty good.
Yes. But other than that, I felt like the beat was produced really well. I like the message of the song because you kind of feel like the main concern is the woman, but it's not. It's actually the love that they're chasing. I don't feel that it's really the women they're chasing. I feel like they're depicting the thrill of how each individual person is doing it.
Right.
And it was deep. It was deep for me, honestly, and I gave it a 5 on 5.
So there was a message to this song?
Lives. And what we have to do is change the paradigm of how we're interacting with them.
I like this one a lot. Like, it was a pretty powerful message. I don't know who was speaking, but it was just kind of to the youth and about the youth, kind of like his compassion, saying that in light of the fact that all these kids are growing up without proper father role models, instead of hating on them for being stupid, we should have compassion that they've come this far. Maybe they make a mumble rap, and it's weird, but wouldn't you rather have them being alive making a mumble rap than out there in the streets perpetuating absolute shit and whatnot? And I feel like there's almost like a call to black men to be more responsible and more understanding of the youth.
I don't think it's...
And at the same time being like, this is a distinct thing. We need to be aware that, well, just that, like, that there is this lack of leadership in the perception of people and availability, and to have compassion in light of all of that.
Well, it's funny you brought that up because I think like a lot of this album, and I'm going to say this again later on, but I feel like a lot of this album is about leadership in terms of the message with the woman that
Actually, I would say consistently across the board, Wu-Tang Clan
right,
is establishing.
Right,
I agree.
Right. So with that, I feel like they're directing not just black men or whatever that race, they're going after everybody in terms of we all kind of need to stand up.
Right, but I still think this was a pretty pointed message.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think?
I do not have very much to add to this because it's like all of the skits at a certain point.
I would recommend giving this one another
Yeah?
listen, Ryan. Like, it's got a message that made me give it a 5.
Okay,
Like,
I'll definitely check it out
It's
again.
like it's again, it's on par with like the more women one that we heard earlier. I forgot the name, but it's got like, wow, Wu-Tang Clan decided to put their romance song, and then make sure to put this important message before the end of the album, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And they called it
actually-
Message. There's nobody on the Wu-Tang Clan on there. It's just a sample playing through. And it's really cool. I think it's a very good way to almost close the album before the closing.
You know, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought that up because
It's not
if
funny. It's interesting. It's coincidental.
Right, you're
I
absolutely
don't
right.
see the humor here, Chris.
It's very interesting you brought that up because in terms of the last track on how it's like a love song relationship and they play up with fathers need to be present in kids' lives with this. It's like, again, the I'm starting to see an actual placement of this album that we forgot to take into consideration this review.
Even considering there's a track called Family. Anyway,
considering that the album placement is actually just, anyway, we'll get to that.
okay. So you wanna end it so we can get to that. So,
All right, the saga continues. Outro. Let's go.
featuring RZA.
One more. I'm gonna do one more for you. Hold on. Yo.
It's the same beat as the intro part where he's hyping us up, only now he's converted from Christianity to Islam and a couple other things, and it just kind of flows out like he just wanted to give one more little message that he had, his last little 2 cents on the album and his little stamp. Yes, Chris?
The message is that we're all the same and that we're all equal and that we should stop fighting and figuring out and trying to point fingers at everything and that we should come together and fight for what we all need to start fighting for.
Yep. And Ryan?
Yeah, it was a good outro, and I mean it fit the thematic feel that they've had throughout the album, both tonally and like in actual theme.
I give it a 4.
I'd also give it a 4.
Give it a 4.
Standard.
Yeah.
I think the album did a little better than a 4 though. For me, this was a 4.4 just about. A little under that. I think it is. So the one comparison I wanted to make is as I was listening to Enter the Wu, there was this flow to it. Like you could tell that the clan was moving in unison to accomplish this particular mission. and that synchronous energy was not on this album. This was a collection of almost the Wu guys who were down. Like, you could see Method Man was really down for the cause, but maybe Jizzle wasn't. And like every kind of song just felt like a song, and some were really good because it's the Wu-Tang guys doing it, and some were a little less good. And I ended up with my 4.4 just on a math grade, but it just felt strange as a Wu-Tang Clan album. Like, I feel like I'm left a little on the disappointed side, even though I liked most of the songs.
I don't agree. I think that after, and this is also what I was going to touch upon earlier, was there is a reason to this album, and I think that including the struggles, the drama, the heartbreaks, and whatever happened within the Wu, they are kind of decrypting it into this album in terms of the way the songs are placed, the way that the messages go, who's on what album, who's saying, who's on what track, and who's saying what.
What do you mean by that? Can you provide more detail?
The more we've been talking about it and the more that I've been listening to it, I feel like there's a reason why everyone kind of sounds like they're on their own wave. Like, I kind of got this vibe that everybody kind of mix-matched on songs, but everyone's on their own wave. And if you really think about it, how old is the Wu-Tang Clan? How old are all these people? They've all got different lives. They've all got different stuff. The album's kind of
called The Saga Continues, so I feel like it's a bit of a bait and switch, the fact that is what happened. I feel like it should have been more like the squad moving in unison, and instead it was Redman featuring... Anyway, we made that joke already.
Well, what I would say is there's a number of things that this album did well that I'd applaud. Like, keeping Mathematics as the producer for all the songs gives the album a sense of unity in direction that really makes it feel like an album rather than an accumulation of songs.
Agreed.
Musically, which is great. And the other thing is, I read somewhere how I believe the intent was to try to recapture the feeling of songs both from Enter the Wu, and also 2001 Chronic. Like the Chronic 2001, sorry. Yeah, okay. Dr. Dre. So there was like an attempt to try to really like go back to some of those kind of classic hip-hop albums. And I think that they did a good job with the productions for the most part on that note. So that was something I enjoyed a lot. The other thing worth noting is that you have these veteran Wu-Tang members now who've been making albums for over 25 years, and they've really sharpened their technical skills to the point that it's like their words cut like a fine katana blade. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Like their flow is on point. It's disappointing that there were some members who were so prominent while others barely appeared or didn't appear. In the case of You God, was not on the album. But I would say overall that this album was better than I expected it to be. I think if you enjoy Wu-Tang, you will like this album. I think that this is a classic hip-hop album in the modern era, and I think that's what it's intended to be. And I would give it a 4.25.
Cool.
I gave it a 4.6, by the way. I didn't give my rating. But...
Well, nobody said you couldn't give your rating.
No, I was just because mentioning it. But I do want to mention, I think that would be a great conversation to have on terms of another critical look.
Okay.
Guys, let us know if you guys want to have a conversation based on classic albums that are coming back in the modern age to go back.
We will talk about that later. But more importantly, I wanted to thank every one of you all for watching us tonight. We appreciate it. Without you, this is pointless. If you liked the video, please like it. In the words of Jake Paul, I'm trying this out. Smash that subscribe button.
Oh my God!
No!
Smash it!
Oh God!
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to see how it would sound.
Like you're full. Like you had energy, and then you're draining now, and now you're just super tired, and now you're just.
No, I did it earlier today too. You can check in the Beck review that went live.
Oh my God!
Anyway. It's probably going to die by like tomorrow, but I wanted to do it again.
No, he's doing it for Classic Quest. You're going to ruin Classic Quest with that stupid thing.
You can hit in the description, all of our contact informations and stuff's there.
Hit us up.
And like videos and subscribe, smashing.
Also, let us know what your thoughts on the album were in the comments section. Do you disagree with us? That's cool. We're open to differing opinions. Just let us know what you thought. This album, I will say one last tidbit that was on my mind was, this was a hard one to review because it's the kind of album that I feel like it's going to get sweeter with time. There was a lot of substance, lyrical substance in this album, which makes it really hard to go through in a day and really soak it out. So I kind of assume that if anything, my review will probably go up over time. So if you have some reasons why you think that's the case, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
All right, my headspace full, dude.
Bye-bye.